Okay. So, how are you guys doing today?
Pretty good.
Okay, glad to hear. I'm not planning on this course staying at 2 people because we're hoping to get more people in here registered and also maybe some transfer from the other, because there's 2 sections of this class. So some of them might move over here based on their scheduling needs. So given that this is, even under normal circumstances, meant to be a very relaxed sort of practice-based environment, and the fact that it's just you guys for the day, I don't want to take up all of your time. I just want to talk with you guys about what the course will be and at least give you the first assignment so that you can start to wrap your head around things and begin working on it. You guys okay with that for today? Okay. So, hello. I don't think I've introduced myself yet. My name is Joshua Hoffbauer, and I actually graduated with a physics degree from PC about 6 years ago now. That hurts to say out loud. And I took my physics major classes in this very room, actually. So I'm enjoying myself being back, and I'm actually very happy to be here. I'm looking forward to working with you guys. So, this class is mostly going to be focused on the math that will be going into other physics and other science courses in general, because you're going to be using the same kind of algebra in your chem courses as well if you're majoring in that or bio. So, between talking about physics and talking about math, my goal is to make this class as useful for you guys as possible. It's not going to be a big time commitment because we're only meeting 2 days a week. And of those 2 days, Wednesdays is going to be focused mostly on talking about the math topics. Friday's going to focus on mainly us working on the class and homework together, and then you finish it up over the weekend. Very low stakes, very chill, not going to be a huge time commitment. You're here to make sure you are up to speed on everything before your other classes. So I don't want this to be I don't want the class to be a big deal for you. I don't want it to be a headache for you guys. My job is to make sure that I give you the information in an easy to digest way, and that you're able to work all your problems, understand all your problems, and can move on to even bigger and better things. Additionally, there's a decent chance if you take Physics 1500 and 1510 that I might be teaching one or both of them. So it's also an opportunity for me to get to know all the students coming through the department before we start doing the more lab-based stuff. And since I don't often have a class this small, if you guys could both remind me each of your names, because I might actually be able to remember them. I'm normally terrible about it, and I feel awful that this happens because a person can tell me everything that there is to know about that individual, and I can remember that information and their face, but there's a pit in my brain where all the names go. It's a problem that I don't know the workaround yet. But since it's just the 2 of you guys right now, do you mind just reminding me what your names are?
Yeah, I'm Kelsey.
Hello, Kelsey.
Jerkways.
Jerkways? Hello, Jerkways. It's nice to meet both of you. And again, I'm Dr. Hoffbauer. Most students call me Prof. Hoff. I don't actually have my doctorate yet, so I just ask that you not call me Dr. Hoffbauer because I don't want to trick people and accidentally spread misinformation. If you don't like Prof. Hoff, any variation of title with my last name will be fine. I used to teach high school. The students came up with a lot of interesting spins on my last name. As long as it vaguely resembles it, I'll probably answer to it. So, this class is mostly going to be about math. A lot of algebra, actually, because 1510 is primarily just algebra based. But we're also going to talk about things like order of operations, logarithms. Ooh, trigonometry, that's very important, because the geometric stuff and the trigonometric stuff trips up a lot of students when they start at 1500, because if you haven't had a geometry class and you're just starting physics cold, now you're suddenly thinking about things two-dimensionally that you haven't before. So our goal is to spend weeks at a time focusing on all those things, all those math stumbling blocks, so that you don't have to deal with them later. Trig, logarithms, coordinate systems, two-dimensional motion, and by the end of the semester we'll probably start talking about Newton's laws, the first couple of topics you'll begin with in 1500. And no matter what you end up doing in life as a major or as a career, my goal is to make this as useful for you as possible. Because even if most of my students are never going to be physics majors. The classes that I end up teaching, just the ones that I'm assigned to teach, are the Physics 1500 type classes that are for other majors. And so I have forced myself to get good at wrapping my head around the headspace of students who need this for something else. I want to show you this can be useful for whatever your something else is. Because even if you never ever do physics math again, you're going to be doing similar types of math in various places in your life. Chemistry comes to mind, and some biology applications of chemistry as well. And the physics that we talk about in this and in other classes is the same physics that the universe you live in runs on. So you've been observing it your whole lives. You've watched things fall. You've witnessed electric current pass through things. You have a physical feeling of gravity. All the stuff that you're going to talk about in any of your physics classes is things you already know. You just don't know you know it. And so, in all those classes, my methodology is to try to help you understand what you already have and just put the words to it. That's my goal for you guys. That's my goal with you guys. Cool? Any questions so far? Weird quirk about me. I ask if people have questions a lot. Usually if I stop to breathe long enough, I just default to, you got any questions? And I do it because I mean it. I want you to ask things if you're confused, because if you don't, you're just going to be confused when the next confusing thing comes up. So no matter what I'm talking about, no matter what example we're going over, no matter how many people are in the room, if this section stays small or not, please interrupt me in the moment so that we can fix it together. Because if you don't tell me what's confusing, I don't know what needs to be reworded for you guys. Because I'm coming from, like, I've been doing college level physics since high school for 12 years at this point. It's hard for me to understand what it's like to come at it from a different angle. So if you tell me what you're struggling with, that'll help me better understand what I need to focus on with you guys. Okay. General advice for this, and really any class you take in this department: don't panic. Science is hard. Science is hard. It's going to be hard. Math is going to be hard, which means that it's okay if something does not immediately make sense, because we can talk about it, we can learn it, and you're going to understand it. If you look at something and you tell yourself, I can't do this, and the existential dread and hyperventilating kicks in, that will only make the problem worse. Don't panic. It's okay if it's tricky because you're going to understand it. And on every assignment that you get, at least try every single question. If something looks too overwhelming for you, at least begin it, rewrite the question, maybe do the steps that you do understand, even just draw a smiley face next to it. Writing it down and doing anything to it kickstarts your process, because I've noticed looking at a blank sheet of paper is super depressing. As soon as there's something on it, it's easier to move on to the rest of it. So do every single question, because it'll help you learn what you don't know. It'll help you figure out the next step by simply just writing down what you do know about it. And the only way to get a 0 on any of my assignments is to leave it completely blank. As long as you write something, you can't get a 0. So I've had students get points for writing the script of the B movie before, because any answer, in my eyes, is better than no answer, even a smiley face. So try everything, and if you make a mistake on the homework, that's fine. I've had students who would, bomb one homework assignment and assume, well, my semester's over, I'm just not going to try anymore. The homework is designed for you to make mistakes on. I keep pointing to this because this is the actual document, sorry. This is designed for you to be able to make those mistakes so that you don't make them on the test of the exam. It is okay if this is not your strongest part of the class, because this is where you're workshopping it. And we physically will be in this room doing these together. So, those are my general tips for how to tackle things in this class. I want this to try to be as enjoyable as possible. I know that not a lot of people go into a physics class or a math class thinking they're going to enjoy themselves. I'm just a big nerd, both for real science and also science fiction. So if you have, if any question, any stray thought about any science thing or any sci-fi thing pops into your head, I want you to ask it. Because A, it's fun. I like fun. I find people learn better when they're not miserable. B, I can usually tie it into something actually meaningful and educational. I've watched enough Star Wars to be able to tell you how a lightsaber works and why we don't have them yet. Things like that. I encourage you to do that. It'll make life more interesting for all of us. And if you never end up taking a physics class again, now's your chance to just ask the really weird stuff, because I will actually answer them. When I taught high school, and I repeatedly asked my students, you have any questions? And they just ask something dumb like, what does the fox say? I would actually sit and think for a moment about what noise they're likely to make and why. And they're like, wait, he's answering the question. Why is he answering the question? They just say it and take time up. I just like messing with them. Class does have a syllabus. It's currently, right now it's just listed online because most people don't refer back to the paper copy, and it's to help cut down on physically passing papers between people at the moment. I say that that said, I still did run off your homework out of habit. So this is one paper thing that I can't really avoid not handing you. Sorry about that. But syllabus is online because most people don't ever look at it more than just the once. So let's look at it just the once. It's on the Brightspace page, which will be a very useful place for you in general. So make sure you're able to access that. When you get into the Brightspace page, it should look something like this. But because I've been having some issues with Brightspace, I want to make you aware of the problem in case it comes up. Because I have two different sections of this one class, two different lectures where we're all learning the same thing, Brightspace automatically made two versions of the same class. I only need one because I only want to upload it once and then everyone can see it. So this right here, Hoffbauer Physics Special Topics Spring 21, is the main class. But Brightspace occasionally makes and reactivates like one of the two sub-classes when I'd rather but not do that. So if you have, this is the G period, right? Yeah, last class I asked and they said it was the F period. This is the G section. We're only going to meet Wednesday and Friday at noon. You don't ever have to come in on a Monday. If this is what you're seeing, this is not the version I'm going to be posting to. Make sure it doesn't have the G or the F in it, and if you are in this and there's no documents uploaded, tell me. I know who to talk to get you in the right one. You click on it, you go to the class itself and all the tabs. You've got here the syllabus, which we'll look at in a second. You've got this sheet of things to know, like various constants, various ordered operations, and unit conversion type stuff. This is you can run this off, you can mark it up, you can use it on your assignments. This is your information sheet. Any sort of a formula sheet you ever get in this department is yours to keep and use on everything. Because when you're working in science, you have your reference material. Your boss isn't going to force you to do it without your textbook. So I find it silly to hide them from you. This is a little intro slideshow. Welcome. We talked about most of this. That's me and my fiance. And all the nerdy stuff I do on the weekends. Syllabus page. Any slideshows that I show you are going to go here. They'll be under the tab for the week that we're on. So, for example, the first thing we're going to be talking about is the order of operations. You click on that tab. The recorded lectures are going to live here. There will be a link to the YouTube channel where I put them. It's very boring. It's just a database of all my recordings. You'll only be interested in the ones that say Phys2000. They'll specify what date it was recorded, which section it is, and what we learned that day. So this is where you can go if you miss a day and need to refer back to it, or if you miss a day, or if you need to refer back to something. For the syllabus itself, it's a very fun document. I've got my name, my office, my email address, which is most of my name, sans the ER, and the link to that YouTube channel. So you can come here, you can access this document. My office, if I'm not in this room or my lab down the hall, I'm probably in my office if I'm on campus. And I say that to encourage you and the students from the other lecture to go there and ask me your questions. To get to 103B, you know that little side hallway there that your look points towards the green, you're out there to get to GDH faster. If instead of going out through that big door, you look to the right, sort of towards this side of the building from that hallway, there's a little alcove that has 3 offices and a table and a fridge in it. Mine is in there. 103B is in there. And my door has my name on it, so you'll know which one's which. I have a whiteboard in there and in the little common space, so even if this room is busy, I can help you with anything that you have. So come there. If I'm not in my office and I'm not on campus, please email me. I've had professors whose email inboxes is just a swamp where nothing comes out of, and I am actively attempting to try to make sure I communicate. If you send me an email, I will either respond promptly if I'm free, or I will respond as soon as I wake up or stop driving. Those are the only reasons I wouldn't respond quickly. syllabus, 2 different sections. They are identical, so if you sit in on the other one, you get the same material. And if they sit on this one, I'll get the same material. Grade scale, grade, rubric. These are the only 3 categories of things that will be graded in this class. It's only a 2-hour course, there's no labs, and there's no quizzes either. It's just going to be the work that we do together, you then take and finish on yourself, but by yourself, excuse me. And 2 tests during the semester and the 1 exam at the end. Those are your only graded things. This textbook listed here is optional because this is the book that you will be using if you take 1500 or 1510. You don't need it yet, but if you do move on to those classes soon, you will need it then. If you want it to start looking at things, there it is, but it is not required at this time. What is required is being able to get onto Brightspace and making sure you have the calculator you're going to need. I have had this dinosaur since middle school, which means it is probably, I started when I was 15, 17 years old. It still works somehow. You do not necessarily need one this sophisticated. I can't even call this sophisticated. This thing's almost old enough to drive. You don't necessarily need one this big or specifically a Texas Instrument, but it does need to be a scientific calculator, which doesn't mean graphing calculator. It means it needs sine, cosine, tangent, exponents, logarithms, things like that. As long as it is marketed as a scientific calculator and has buttons for that, it'll be fine. There's a chance you probably already have one. It'll do fine. You don't need a new one, you just need a one. And you can use it on everything. I'm never going to force you to do something without it, because I can do nothing without it. I've become too reliant on it, and I can't do simple math anymore. But that's a me problem. So make sure you have something like this very soon if you don't already. We already talked about why we're here. We're here to make other science courses easier. Do some of the work now. From the class, take notes, we'll work on things together. If you miss a day of class, that is fine. I don't take attendance even when there isn't a virus, because some people just don't need to show up to learn. I do encourage you to show up though, but if for some reason you just can't be here, that is fine. You can sit in on the other lecture, you can watch the recordings, you can email me to check what you missed. You can, I don't care what you miss as long as you make it up eventually. And again, ask questions, try everything on every assignment, be honest on our code and all that. Now for the 3 things that will be graded, we have our class/homework. This is one category because the assignment I just gave you is the first set of classwork and the first set of homework. The way that our sort of week-to-week basis is going to work is on Wednesday I'll collect the homework from the previous week and we'll start talking about our concept for that week. I'll also give you your assignment for the week so that you can start on it, and then on Friday we will finish up any learning we still need and we will start practicing doing this work together in the room. You can work with each other, you can work with me, we'll have a whole bunch of whiteboards we can use together. So this assignment begins as classwork, and whatever you don't finish in this room, you finish as homework over the weekend. And when you're doing it as homework, you continue to work with each other, with students from the other lecture, whoever you want to, as long as the document in your handwriting with your name showing your work gets in my hands. So please work together on them. Please make sure things are neat and sort of follow a nice coherent order. For example, the questions are all on the page that I gave you. So on the sheets for your answers, take a clean sheet of paper, clearly write what number you're working on. I advise you to rewrite the question and then work one step at a time down from there. Showing your work helps you keep it straight as you work, and it helps me give you partial credit. Because if you show all of your work, I can see where the errors might be, and you can still get most of your points. If you just put the answer, you're riding on it being correct. Because if it's just the answer and it's wrong, there's not much I can do for you. The work is honestly worth more than the answer. You can write the question, work on the steps, and if you just make one mistake at the last minute, you'll probably still get like 90% of the points for that problem. Show your work. You can make a B in this class, you can make an A in this class and never get a final answer right, the way that you partial credit. Cool? Okay. Label each question, work one line at a time, make it clear what your answer is, underline it, box it. The math department uses this little symbol, whatever you want, as long as it's indicated in some way. And then label the next question and begin working on it. I am fine if, please put multiple problems on page. Please use both sides of the page. We can cut down on tree loss. As long as it's clearly legible what's what, which problem is which. And if you work with your classmates, you know, if you go to them for help, even if you come to me for help, and I help, if they help you get to the answer, if I help you get to the answer, make sure you understand how you got there. Dr. Rodicor is one of the other physics professors in this department. He's the one who invented this course, so I'm working from a lot of his materials. He likes to use the phrase, be mindful of learning to swim. So you'll see this on most syllabi in this department. What it means is, if you go to someone for help, make sure you are understanding what they're telling you and what you're copying down. If you don't understand it, if you just write down what they have and have the correct answer, you might do good on the homework, but then you might bomb the test. And the test is way more important. So, teamwork and helping each other is great. Just make sure you help each other understand it and not just give each other the answers. Tests will look and work very similarly to the homework assignments. You'll have a number of problems, work on them one at a time, make sure you show your partial credit, so show your work to get partial credit, etc. I'm going to schedule the tests very soon. I'm just working through the calendar for all my classes at the moment. Within the next week, my goal is to have both of the tests scheduled, pinned on the calendar, so that you know when they are, and if something comes up, you'll know to contact me ahead of time about what you need to do about it. So you'll know when the tests are. They work very similarly to the homework. The main difference is just you don't have access to your classmates. The exam, basically the same as the test. We have two tests. They'll be spaced about a month or two apart. So we'll learn for about a month or two at the test, learn for about a month or two at the test, and anything we cover between test 2 and the exam just goes straight on to the exam. Because I don't want to cram in another test right before the exam starts. I just want that to be fun for all of us. So, 2 tests, 1 exam at the end. Exam will basically just be a slightly bigger test. So the homework formatting will be pretty uniform across the entire class. Making choices, work together, please ask questions. The last part of the syllabus document itself is the tentative list of topics in the order we're going to talk about them. You can refer to this if you just want to keep straight what we've covered, what's coming up. We're starting right with here, starting with algebra and the order of operations, and we'll move on from there. This refers to complete whole weeks of class. If for some reason we have a week where we only meet once because of a holiday or a cancellation, or if we don't meet at all that week, then it just gets paused until we reconvene. And that should be all of the lovely, fun, logistical information that I'm contractually obligated to talk about with you. Again, the syllabus is on the Brightspace page. back to it if you need it, or ask me directly. While I've still got it up on the screen, I just want to refer back to this thing again. The final exam is 30%. The two tests combined make up 40%, and the class/homeworks all average together to make up 30% of your grade. What this spread should show you is that you don't need to panic about your grades. Because there's going to be almost as many homeworks as there is weeks in a semester. Each individual homework assignment might be worth like 3% of your grade. So if you somehow got a 0 on a homework, you might only lose 3 points on your average. Probably less than that if there's more than 10 homeworks. And there's no way you get a 0 because we're going to literally start them together in class. You'll have something to turn in. Again, we're going to only get a 0 if you leave blank. So homeworks are intentionally low stakes. Each individual one is a very, very tiny amount of points. You're safe to make mistakes there. Meanwhile, each test, since there's 2 of them, each test is like 20% of your grade, which means you could get a 0 on one of them and still have a B. Realistically, not even realistically, if you somehow got 50s on both tests, which is incredibly unlikely as long as you show your work, you then, even then, could still get a B in the class. I like talking about this just to remind people, mathematically, you are going to be fine. The only way to bomb the physics class here is to not try and to not make it work. So, that's a lot of information. Leave all the text I just showed you. Any questions about anything at all?
Friday I won't be here.
Yes, you did email me about that. So this Friday, we're going to be working on this assignment, going over the order of operations. And the main thing that might not be, the trickiest part of this assignment, which we will probably be talking about on Friday, is the logarithms. That's the single trickiest part of this particular document. And even if it's just us on Friday, we can talk about that. We can go over as much as you want to stick around for if it ends up still just you and I here. Because it's the first week, we're all getting used to things and recalibrating. This will not be due next Wednesday. I am a big fan of allowing the start of a course to be kind of sluggish so that everyone can just mentally wake their brain up and get back into the swing of things. So if you miss Friday, that'll be fine. Just make sure you look over the homework, look over any notes that I post, do as much of it as you can, and come prepared with the questions that you have. And we can finish, we can address those on Wednesday next week before we move on. And same goes if you miss a day. Anything else? Okay. So, my 2 lectures of this class are back to back. So I at least want to end on the same part of the notes that the other section ended on, so that you're all operating from the same amount of information. With them, I had time to get through the syllabus and begin the homework with them, start talking about order of operations with them, and I'd like to at least do the same with you. We have time to probably do more than just the first one together, the first homework assignment question together. But I at least want to show you that much so that everyone's on the same page, literally. So, if you look at the homework, these are sorted by category. So each one tells you what kind of problems you're going to be looking at in it. And they're all numbered 1 through 31, such that even jumping between sections, if you do the problems out of order, I'll be able to tell which one is which. I still ask you to try to do them in order, or at least put the pages in order, because it makes my grading a lot easier. But you don't need to, as long as they are numbered. The very first thing that you're going to need to know to do algebra for any science class is the basics of algebra, the order of operations. You both, I trust you've both seen this acronym before. Okay, so just a quick review. P is for, very good, E is for, M is for, D is for, A is for, S is for, very good. And this just tells you the order in which you do each part of the problem. Brief reminder, sort of, this is, I guess, the weirdest, the part that some people don't remember as often. The multiplication and division steps kind of happen together at the same time. You are not obligated to do all the multiplication first if the division makes more logical sense to go through. They both have equal weight because one is just the inverse of the other. They functionally accomplish the same type of thing in the question. So these can happen concurrently, and these can happen concurrently. So you could write it PEDMOS or PEMDZ, but this just rolls off the tongue better. So, just to review this briefly, and just to literally get the homework started, I encourage you to pull out a sheet of paper and make it the first one of your doc assignment. Let's just look at the first one together for a little practice. So on your homework, you should always write what question it is. So let's look at number one. You should rewrite what it gives you and then work from there. So, the first section is about order of operations. Each of these three problems is composed entirely of numbers, and your objective is to tell me what number it is equal to. So you just want to use the order of operations to compress these first three down into a single integer. Might not always be an integer, but it'll still be a solid number. So, for the first one, we begin with 5 plus 7 to the third power over 7 times 7. So, according to the order of operations, what should our first step be? Say again?
The exponent.
Very good. We don't have parentheses, so that step's pretty much already done. So let's look at the exponents. 7 to the third power is an exponent, so we need to factor that through. This would be when in the process you break out your calculator, just figure out what 7 to the third power is. And this is one piece of math I actually did or have the answer to off the very top of my head. 7 to the third power, which is the same as 7 times 7 times 7, is 343, which coincidentally is also the speed of sound. I wonder if there's any connection there, actually. But that is our exponent step handled. Next step, multiplication division. We've got this whole piece being divided by 7, and then the whole thing being multiplied by 7. What is that effectively going to amount to? Yeah, they're just going to cancel out because you're multiplying these two things together combined are being multiplied and divided by the same number. They're just going to cancel out. That's going to leave us with 5 plus 343. So the last step, AS, add, subtract. Our final answer should be 348. Again, you can indicate your answer however you want to, underline it, circle it, do that weird thing I picked up from the math department, whatever you want to do, as long as I know it is your answer to number 1. And that is the basic structure of all of your homework questions for the entirety of the semester. Just go through them one at a time, you do your algebra, and you just indicate what your answer is. Pretty much every question on this document is going to work similarly. The next couple of sections, the section solve for x, powers, and logarithms are going to be slightly different in that those are all algebra questions where you are taking things, rearranging them, and trying to get an answer of x equals blank. Instead of just getting one number as your final answer, the answer is going to be x equals blank. That's the main difference for those groups. The last group, fractions, however, you are just solving for a number again. Easily the trickiest thing on here, the thing that we'll make sure that we cover in more detail, is the logarithms section, because the logs don't show up super often, so even I forget how to do them on occasion just because I get rusty. So these four are naturally the hardest part. It is okay if they're tricky. We will cover them together. That is officially as far as the other section got. So if you guys would like to call a break here and have a nice first day where you get out 10 minutes early, that is more than okay. If this class does stay the smaller of the two, odds are we're going to finish early rather often, which is okay. It just gives us the option of either working ahead or getting out early. But I'm going to guess which of the two you prefer to do today. So unless you have any questions, unless you want to work ahead or with me, then we can call it here. Friday, if it's just you and me, we'll continue working through examples, talking about how to do each type, working on some logarithms as well. And we will also continue going over that on Wednesday. Keep working ahead, let me know what questions you have. And tell your friends about the class, because odds are they also need the math help. So thank you guys very much. Stay uninconvenienced.